Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Drew Durrani, and I'm your host. Christine Matus, I am so happy to have you here.
So excited to be here.
My
This is
goodness.
wonderful.
My goodness. I love attorneys. I do. There are stereotypical, comments about attorneys, and you are not what the stereotype is. You
I've
are,
been
and
told.
the audience is gonna love this.
uh,
What a warm human being.
Oh,
I do have to, and you guys know I always thank the person who introduces me to my guest. So once again, I'm thanking you for something, Bill Walters. Thank you for introducing me to Christine Mattis. She is a gem, and we're just building our relationship here. So, and folks, just so everybody knows, we are recording now. Christine Mattis is the 150th episode recording.
big
So
deal.
it's a milestone, and I'm very proud of this, and I'm happy to have Christine to be the 150th
So special.
guest episode.
Amazing. It's amazing for
This
you.
is great. This is awesome. So, Christine, I always mention to my audience, and they're familiar with this, that when we're young, we're taught by our closest relatives or friends or colleagues or life that life is linear. We're told if we do A plus B plus C, D is going to happen. And for the most part, life is linear until it's not. There's
Yeah.
always that external circumstance that gets in the way of one of those letters and derails that straight path. And now we've got a circuitous route in life. And that route, what rears its ugly head is some adversity. And I say there's three types of women out there, three types of men. For your case, I'm going to say three types of women out there. You have woman number one who's got a ton of blind spots. She doesn't even notice that adversity. She just figures she's handed away to live her life and she's just going to live it that way and that's it. So that's blind spots, woman number one. Then there's woman number two. She sees the adversity, so a little more heightened awareness than woman number one. Yet she says, everybody else is to blame. I'm the victim. Life's doing it to me. There's nothing I can do. It is what it is. And she changes nothing. And you know what? On her deathbed, she's got so many regrets. And then there's woman number three. That's Christine Mattis. Woman number three is the woman who sees that adversity. She says, finally, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. This adversity is not a barrier. It's an opportunity to become a stronger woman, take massive action, and become stronger on the other side. So, with all of that, woman number three, Christine, if you
Yeah.
could reach back as far as you need to for that defining moment, whether it was the tap on the shoulder, the whisper in the ear, or like what I needed, 2x4 upside my head, that kind of transformed you from the woman you were, woman one or two, to woman number three, who you are now, and how that's impacted your personal life and your professional life.
Yeah, and I love that because, for a long time, I was woman number one and two without knowing it.
Mhm.
A lot of times we live and we live and we go through things and you feel things. You start to feel down, you start to feel bad,
Right.
and you may ask, why me? And you do get tired of getting that.
Yeah.
And then something happened. So in my situation, a lot of it was really taking perspective, Drew. So I guess just dialing it back. Um, I have two beautiful kids, and my youngest was born with Down syndrome and autism, but we weren't prepared for that.
Mhm.
And, in hindsight, sometimes I should have maybe asked more questions and found out more information to be prepared because we really weren't, I really wasn't prepared.
Mhm.
And I do remember when she was born, I had this sinking feeling.
Mhm.
Because no one in our family have ever had something like this.
Right.
I didn't even know anybody who had a member of our family with special needs. And I remember I was in the hospital. I just gave birth like 2 hours ago. And then I fell asleep and I had a dream and I remember it vividly, Drew. I was in this lake and I was drowning and I couldn't breathe. And when I looked to my side, it was my daughter, my baby at the time was drowning with me. And I remember that feeling that if I don't put my head up and I can't lift her, we're both going to die. And I remember this feeling of just effort. And then I woke up and then, you don't really remember dreams, but then it came back to me and I can still remember the salt in my mouth. I mean, it was just so weird, that dream.
Mhm. Right.
And I remember I don't want to be that way. I don't want to feel drowning.
Mm.
And I don't want to have my attitude and my pessimism bring everybody down.
Right.
So, but it was a lot of work. And it wasn't just like overnight, like, I'm going to be great. It
Mhm.
was a lot of mindset work, Drew. So I had to really make an effort to look into, what makes other people tick? What makes other families who have the situation succeed? And succeed is such a subjective term. But I kept thinking, I can't be the only one. And I remember thinking about what to do. And my father, I'll share with you, my father is, God bless him, he's 87 now.
Oh, okay.
We always call him the Pollyanna of the family. And I remember when things were happening, we're still
Mhm.
learning about how do we help our youngest, how do we help us, and things like that.
Right.
And my dad sat with me and my husband, and he goes, guys, at the time, it's 2007, it's
Yeah.
modern times. There's a solution to everything, and then you'll be happy. And then my husband said, Drew, he said, I'm already happy. And I was like, that was a wake-up call. You're
Yeah.
right. I am already happy now. I
Right.
could be happy now. It is a choice.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that was a big deal where I felt, yeah, we don't need to wallow and think pessimistically
Yeah.
and things like that. We took control. And so that was way back around 2007,
Okay.
2009.
Mhm.
But it wasn't always persistent. And over the years, I've contacted other families. It was before Facebook and all those social media, Drew. So you would reach out to support groups. You actually attended in
Right. And real
person
in
groups that
person.
we'd meet at the library or
Mhm.
YMCA,
Yeah.
and you met families and you hear what their journey was. And what I loved was everybody was, for the most part, happy. They were like, you know what? These are the struggles that we have, but this is how we found our way around it. And this is how you think of it.
Right.
And it's a muscle. I just keep trying to build on it and learn. And I'm still learning.
Right.
I'm human. And there are moments, even today in 2025, where something happens and I start to dwell on the
Mm.
negative part,
Yeah.
and I have to shake myself out of
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
it's a lot of mindset work and a lot of being with other people who are uplifting, that whole saying, birds of a feather.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah. It is
It is
true.
very true. I love those, all those phrases are so true. They keep coming back to me. They keep telling me, oh my God, my mom was right.
Uh,
And, when you surround yourself with confident, uplifting, positive people, you can't help but be that.
right.
But, when you are around other people who may be negative, and being a victim is real, Drew. I get into
Yeah.
that. And sometimes I hear myself. I'm like, what am
Yeah.
I saying? What's happening here?
Absolutely.
And I hear it with other people. And I do try to remind them, not in a lectury way, but hey, listen, let's focus on the positive.
Yeah.
Let's focus on what is what is good. So I have to say it was, around that 2009 period, that dream. It was
Yeah.
just such a weird dream. And then my father saying, if these things happen, you'll be happy. And my husband saying, I'm happy now. And you know what? Yeah, I'm happy now because I'm making an effort. I am
Right.
intentionally going to be happy, right? Because
Absolutely.
that is a thing you can will. That is
Yes.
a thing you can
Absolutely.
control. You can
Absolutely.
control your thoughts. You
Yeah.
control your focus.
Hmm.
Is it easy? No way. No
No.
way. But I love doing that. My family, I'm always reading certain books that, give me that confidence. And I love sharing it with everyone because I
Yeah.
hear something, I'm just like, oh, this is what you're going through, and here's a technique. But no, I love knowing that you've faced certain things, you've met other people. And I think the common thread is that we all of a sudden had awareness.
Yes.
Once you
Absolutely.
start to be aware and start to take control,
Right.
things do change. But it's hard. I wish I could tell you like, oh, it's so easy, just do this.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it isn't.
No, and you mentioned something before about, still slipping into that negative, and it doesn't matter what expert people call us. We're all human beings, right? And we're always going to slip. We're going to slip, and it's a matter of catching ourselves a little quicker than the previous time and bouncing back. Um,
Yes.
but amazing. So at what point was it during when you were pregnant with your daughter? Did you have any inklings that something was up, or was it after the
So
birth?
it was interesting when I was having the sonogram. I
Yeah,
remember the tech,
yeah.
her face froze, and she didn't
Okay.
say anything. All she said was, doctor's going to talk to you. I'm like, oh, Okay. So we waited. And when
Okay.
the doctor came in, they said there were certain characteristics that might lend itself that your daughter may have Down syndrome, but were not confirmed.
Okay.
We saw four specialists,
Uh-huh.
and all of them said, no, I don't think so. And the reason why I was searching it out for me, and there's no wrong answer, but for me,
Right.
my intention was just to know, but
Yeah.
and then I didn't really want to know.
Right.
So someone said, "Hey, why don't you do an amnio?" And there was some risk involved with that, but I said, "No, I don't want to do an amnio because at the end of the day, I want to, the baby is who the baby is." And so I think I kind of lived a life at that
Mm.
time where I had blinders on, where I'm
Uh-huh.
like, it's
Right.
gonna, I honestly couldn't fathom how I would feel. So
Yeah.
I really didn't want to read about anything. And now and
Right.
then I would come across an article on Down syndrome and I'd read it, but then I didn't.
Yeah.
And it's just my immature way of dealing with things that I just wanted to almost ignore it. And I thought, everything will work out. And I have to share with you, I mean, things did work out, God
Yeah.
bless. But uh, I think spiritually, emotionally, mentally, I could have done a better job. But I think the whole family was kind of a little bit in shock. Like,
Yeah.
really, is this happening? And
Yeah.
you know, you and I always know there's no good, there's no bad. It was
Right.
different.
It's just
It was
different. Right.
different,
Right.
and that was a different thing. And I honestly didn't know how to deal with that different. But again, looking back in time, I think, I forgive myself. I did the
Good.
best of the information I had in front of me. We
Absolutely.
all did. I don't blame anybody.
No, no.
But I do remember that feeling when it was happening, and I had that stomach ache. I can kind
Yeah.
of remember
I
it,
probably feel it again.
and a little bit
Yeah.
lost. And I remember holding really strong, Drew.
Yeah.
Everybody was in the delivery room, everybody, and I know they didn't know what to say. And I said,
Right.
and I kept saying,
Yeah.
saying it. It's gonna be fine, gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I remember when everybody left for the evening, and one nurse came, she goes, hey, Christine, can I help you to the bathroom? And then I broke down. And I remember,
Yeah.
and she said, okay, okay. Oh, I still get a little emotional about that because
Yeah.
I held it in for the whole family. Everybody was coming
Yeah.
in.
You want to be
They were like,
strong for everybody.
congratulations. I go, yeah, congratulations.
Mhm.
But then I remember when I was alone, I just let it out,
Of course.
'cause I didn't want to show that I was scared because I
Yeah.
didn't want any, because my mom was there. She was just like, how are
Yeah.
we gonna, how can we cope with this? I go, yeah, we can cope with this. It's gonna be fine. I remember saying to her,
Mm.
I go, Mom, it's gonna be fine. And she goes, okay, all right. And I wanted to do that for everybody. But
Good.
when
Yeah.
when the lights went out and I was by myself, that was
Yeah.
tough.
You
That
had
was
to.
tough.
You had to let it out. Well, it's interesting when they ask, "Do you want the amniocentesis?" I can understand like thinking maybe, maybe not. No, I don't want to know. Like, even if you did do it and you found out, you were gonna still have the baby.
Right.
So what, I mean, I like your outlook that it's going to be fine, and either way, we're going to be able to deal with it. Now, what I find interesting is for those young couples, all of us, really, we were told it's going to be, we were taught it's going to be a normal birth, right? Right? No
Yeah.
matter what. So we're not forewarned. You don't want to scare people, but it would be nice that when you're giving birth, especially for the first time, that there's an if then scenario. And
Yep.
because some people, when you hear about people, a birth happens, or even like I have my best friend and his wife, their daughter has cerebral palsy because it was a mess up at the birth. She was over 10 pounds. It should have been a C-section. Doctor didn't want to do a C-section.
Oh,
So now cerebral palsy. So
yeah.
they had that. The birth was the whole pregnancy was fine. And so what happened to them is all of a sudden, boom, baby's born and tubes and oxygen and all that. And it's like, oh my God, what happened? Now what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would be nice if we help younger couples when they're for having their first kid, even though before they're pregnant. It's like,
I
you
agree.
want to avoid any of these like, oh no, what do I do now? What now? Because
Exactly.
you
And,
know,
and just, having them get into that conversation because it
yeah,
was it was so it was so interesting, Drew, because it was like people would mention it and they're like, well, so I said I was saying like, let me find out. And then the special was, yeah, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. You're like, okay. And no matter what, right? At the end of the day, you do want to find, but fine at
absolutely.
that time, the
Right.
definition of fine at that time
Yeah.
was one thing, and that's how I
Mhm.
pictured it. And then
Yeah.
when it wasn't, wasn't what I imagined.
Mm.
It was hard,
Yeah.
right? It was hard as in anything when you're not
Right.
prepared. Now these days, I'm hoping more people are reading more, educating more, and
Yeah.
knowing that if this happens, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
gonna be okay.
Exactly.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
You know?
and the okay piece, especially is if when there's education and someone's offering you the education, because the challenge for me, my son's 23, I started looking for stuff like now and because he had a you know, you never know when and if something's going to happen. He had a rough time last year, and everything I'm looking at, it's like I'm like, oh wow, great, they have that. Oh, birth to 21. Great. You know,
Yeah,
everything's birth to 21. It's like it doesn't just automatically miraculously like become different at 22.
so
So
true.
why do they stop? I don't know.
I agree.
That's where I'm trying to help people who have older. I mean, even people who are like not diagnosed or misdiagnosed. I just heard about somebody who was diagnosed with autism at age 30.
You're
Now
right.
it's
You're
not like they
absolutely
just got it at 30. They had it their whole life, and it's just,
yeah, and that's my
diagnosed.
daughter, right? She was born with Down syndrome, but
Yeah.
there was nothing, no diagnosis of the autism
Okay.
until it's a year now, just a year. And
How old is she now?
she's now 16. So there was
16?
so there was 15 years of us not knowing,
Not
although
knowing.
I could feel it. I'm like, you
Y-
know what? Her
Yeah,
tendencies are this.
right,
The things that she would do are this. And now we're learning together. And I have
right.
to say, I'm not the only one, Drew. I just met another family.
Yeah,
Same thing. Her daughter's a year older.
yeah,
And she said the same thing, Chris. They're thinking she has autism. We're getting her. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, okay, I'll share what I've been doing. And
yeah,
so we're kind of starting our journey on that, Drew,
right, right.
now. But, knowing it, I have to say, has been a relief. It's
Yeah,
confirming things I
yeah,
knew,
yeah,
confirm. And now it's kind of opened up a little bit more doors of how I'm going to approach things. Because
yeah.
before you're like, I'm not really sure why. How can we help her? But now
Yeah,
it's helped.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm still putting positivity with it.
Well,
You
I mean, any child is amazing. And I found that the neurodivergent thinking is, to me, unbelievable. My son he's the Asperger spectrum thing, but I mean, cognitively, he is teaching me so much. And I'm challenging myself to change the way I think when I parent him, and sit with him and talk with him, because there were times I was driving him nuts. And when he calmed down, he would say to me, Dad, when you rapidly talk about three topics within 2 minutes, I can't follow. It's got to be one topic at a time. I'm like, oh, geez. All right. Thank you
so
for letting me
true.
know that. I'll slow down. I'll think of one topic at a time.
And
And
it's
if
things we
I
didn't know we do,
no, I had
right?
no idea. I went to three topics. I said, I didn't tell Dad, you did this, and this. I'm like, he didn't even see how I connected the three. To me, it made sense, but it was like,
I love that.
yeah,
But
it
it's
just
interesting with
doesn't.
my daughter,
Yeah,
when we ask her something or suggest something, her first reaction is no.
yeah,
And I had
frustrating.
to realize that was just her way of pausing
Mm-hmm.
to soak in what I'm asking or doing.
Yep.
And then she'll answer. But it's still hard because when she says no, I'm always like, okay, she don't want to do it. Then I'm like,
Right.
then she'll be like, yes. And I'm like, oh, wait.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to cue in
Yeah.
our family, her support groups at school saying, like, just letting
Yeah.
you know, when she says no initially, it's not really no, it's just her saying, wait, let me let me think
Well,
about
you know what
this.
it is too, and I agree with you. She's going to give herself time to think about it. It's a safety net. It's a security measure.
Yeah,
It's that fight or flight, right? So she's got to
exactly.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
nope, nope, nope. I need my space. Let me, because the overstimulation I'm learning is what that it happens, and then they just can't control, it. And well, you'll notice that as she gets older, because Matthew's 23 now. Yesterday he went to his first day of community college,
Oh, big
and
deal.
he said he actually was one of the happiest days of his life, which made
Oh,
me one of
I
my
love that.
happiest days. But he said to me that when he got back, because he did that, plus he had a physical training session like at 4 o'clock. So he had two big things in one day, and it takes a lot of time,
Lot.
for them to prepare
Yes.
mentally for just one thing. So he was exhausted, and
Yeah.
he admitted, I'm overwhelmed, overstimulated. He
Yeah.
used the word overstimulated, and
Good
he's
word.
actually told us what his brain feels like. It's as if fireworks are going off on his
It's too
brain,
much.
and he just can't stop them. And
Yeah.
I'm like, geez,
I
I can't,
know.
you know,
And imagine that also with also other sensory
yep,
overload, you know,
yep.
it's one thing for information to fill your brain at a certain
Hmm.
pace,
Hmm.
but then you're feeling the sunshine, the wind, that you're hearing sounds. It's
Yeah.
too much. It
No,
is
it's
very
absolutely
much a
too much.
lot.
Yeah. And then you get the emotions on top of it. He had the mix of scared and excited. They're two different emotions, yet they release the similar type
Yeah,
hormones and feelings. So
true.
it's like it's exacerbated because you're feeling both. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But so 16 puts her in sophomore.
Yeah. Oh, she's gonna be a junior now. She's just
So
started. She's a
now, okay,
junior.
this
Yeah.
falls
Yeah.
junior. Okay.
But the good
And
thing is, like you
yeah,
said, it all of this, there's always a good about it. So what's the
yeah,
good to me? You know, there's so many, but
right.
one is like you said, taking stock of how do I communicate?
Yeah,
How do I, have the patience
right.
to just make sure I'm clear and I understand what you want,
Yeah,
and that realizing there's many ways to communicate. I don't always have to
right.
talk to her. I can show her something. I could,
Mhm.
have her feel something, and it will come across the same way. And that's been very helpful to use in many different circumstances when I'm helping other families where
Right.
I'm thinking, okay, just want to see how else can I reach them? What are
Mhm.
better ways,
Right.
right? And there's no wrong way. It's just
No,
different. That's
no.
it.
Right. It's different, different. I love the term different, unique. I don't use the word disabled, differently abled
Yes,
is a
differently
good term, right?
abled. I like that.
It's like words do
I do
matter.
find though that,
Yeah.
each group has their own word that they like to
Yeah.
use. And I do get flustered because I don't know what's the right word. I don't know, what might be right for me and my family may not be right. So it's, you're just trying too,
Oh,
because you're
yeah.
trying to be so sensitive to
I
everything.
know, I
But there
know.
are times where if I use the word disabled, it does give me a little bit of a pause, but I'll
Yeah.
use it
Yeah.
because of whatever,
Yeah.
special needs or
Mhm.
all of
Yeah,
that.
all those
So I
terms.
try to be respectful, but I always like to learn. I always want to
Me
know.
too.
Like,
Me
you
too.
tell me what's
Me
the
too.
best word, right? And
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah, and I'm with you 100%. So, what, let's say, so when did you go into or know you wanted to be an attorney? I guess
So it's funny. I was 12 years old,
go
and
ahead.
when I was in school, one of my best friends, we were just chatting about what to do. And I have to tell you, from first to fifth grade,
Yeah.
I just went through school. I didn't do much. I just went through the motions. Then and if she ever listens to this, my friend, her name is Kathy. Sixth grade, we matched up. We were in the same classroom, and I just thought she was so kind, so hilarious, and she was super smart. And there was a time where the teacher was pulling out exams and reading scores, and I just went, "Oh my goodness, I better study. I don't want her to think like what a dummy, this friend of mine." So then I took it a little more seriously and focused,
Yeah.
and I did well. And I remember chatting with her, and she put that in the ring. She goes, "Chris, we should be lawyers." And I didn't know what a lawyer was. I'm just
Okay.
like, sounds good to me. I said, what is
Yeah.
that? She goes, oh, you get to talk to people and you can help people and you can like make rules. And I just said, make rules. I like making rules.
Okay.
But I was really shy. So then that
Mm.
feeling, was in and out. I thought I wanted to be an eye doctor. Then I
Mhm.
took chemistry and I said, oh, this is not
Yeah,
for
no.
me. I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all.
Got
So
it.
went to college and then I started getting the law bug. There was an
Ah,
opening at Community Medical Center, which is a Toms River
yeah.
hospital here.
Okay.
And for my summer job, I said I'll work there. So I was in the management, but then they put me in the law department and they said,
Okay.
"Hey, we need help answering stuff." And
Okay.
there were forms and there were paperworks and things about, law stuff. And
Yeah.
I started reading, I thought like, and I started asking questions like, well, what's happening here? What happened?
Yeah.
And I thought it was so interesting to find out, well, here's the rules of the hospital, and this is where someone thought something went haywire. And I loved reading that. And
Right.
it just stuck with me.
Hmm.
And, what kind of lawyer, I didn't know, but I just love that idea of helping someone, knowing that. And I have to share with you, Jerry Seinfeld had said,
Yeah.
lawyers are the people who know the rules. Like if you're playing a game, and the lawyers are the ones who know how
Yeah.
to the rules are and how to
Yeah.
play the game.
Yeah.
Everybody else just kind of plays it, and we're
Yeah.
the ones to tell you that was wrong, that was
That's
right.
true. Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of like that, and
I like that.
I'm
Okay.
a big reader. I love reading,
Yeah.
and so and my family used to laugh too if we were to play a game. They're like, "Well, let's
Mhm.
just wait for Christine because she's going to read all the rules." I did. I would always read all the rules. I said, "All
Yeah.
right, this is how we're going to play." okay, this is what's going on, because we would just wait. I'm not reading all that. Christine will read it. And so,
Right.
yeah, so it really was there where that feeling of right and wrong
Okay.
and the feeling of being so helpful with certain things that are sometimes plainly in front of us.
Yeah.
There are things that are written, there are things that are there, but a lot of times we may not be aware of it. And I love looking into that and saying like, it may be, this is probably how it might be read in black and white, but this is how you apply it. And I
Mm.
thought that's fun to me. I do like that.
The application
So
piece too.
helping people, and
Mm.
then, eventually I went to law school and one of my favorite classes it was called civil rights class. At the
Okay.
time, it was called it was mental disability class.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was interesting. They changed the name since I graduated.
Yeah.
And it was a clinic where we would help many people in the community who may have had low income, but they were being challenged of being either rendered to be incapacitated. Do we do a guardianship for them, a
Oh, okay.
conservatorship? So that was my first time learning about that and learning the
Mhm.
rules and how some of those rules are really very, very restrictive, very
Right.
complicated.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was people who should not have been, say, committed. And we were in charge, this group of lawyers, we worked for free, we worked through the school
Yeah.
to set them free to break the
Yeah.
commitment.
Really? Wow.
And that was I love that. That was really one of my favorite classes. I did well with that. And so that always was in the back of my mind.
Mm.
And then, throughout my career, I did work I started out with insurance defense firm, then I learned matrimony. I really learned a lot of different areas of law, Drew.
Wow. Okay.
But at the end of the day, once I opened up my firm, I realized there's a certain type of law that I really enjoy, and that was really with the wills and the trusts
Hmm. Hmm.
and I've always done real estate, so that's always been the
Right.
back. We help people
Mhm.
buy and sell homes or businesses. And then as my, career evolved and then my daughter was born,
Yeah.
that's when I realized that, there is a special area of law to help those
Good.
who have a loved one with special needs.
Hmm.
And sadly, it's complicated, so a lot of people stay away from it. So to
Sure.
find people who really know how it works it was challenging,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's been my joy, to focus on that and
Right.
to really see what we could do to make sure everyone's well aware of the resources available
Right.
and how it works. And I like to just do it simply.
Yeah.
There's no need to complicate things.
Absolutely. It's great too. Now you're living through it, and as you're learning, you're able to help your clients with the special needs trusts and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And
Because it's one thing to create it and you see it,
yeah.
but now I know how it works because I need
Yeah.
it to work. I want it to work.
Yes,
And then I'm
absolutely.
always thinking, okay, so now something happens. How is it being funded? Because I want to make sure it's going to work. And my husband, who's not a lawyer,
Right.
I have to explain it really well because he's just like, what's happening?
I love it. Yeah.
So if he gets it,
And
then I know we'll all get it.
I love it. And do you explain it to him in laypersons, or did
You
you
have to, yeah.
hear a lawyer speak stuff? Good.
But isn't that the best way to learn, right?
It
When you
is.
teach
It is.
other
It
and explain it.
absolutely in the way they can understand. That's the best way to teach.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Absolutely.
But it's
Yeah.
been a joy. I love
Yeah.
focusing on all of that
Yeah.
and really making sure that everyone's comfortable and it
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you gotten a special needs trust for your daughter yet?
Yep, we do. We
You
have
did?
it. Yep, we have one
Yeah.
set up already.
Yeah.
And what's been the issue is when I help families, educating them that there's
Yeah.
not just one type of special needs trust. There's really three kinds,
Right.
and finding out what's the best one for them depending
For
on their
them.
circumstance, what's happening.
Hmm.
And that's always the eye opener. And
Yeah.
then sadly, there's been many situations where people think they have a special needs trust and we review it and we're like, oh, it's not. Or they
That's
think they have one and
amazing.
not the other.
Or they think it's funded already, or they never
Yeah.
learned how to fund it. It just is
Yeah.
there. And yeah, I like how you and your firm explain what the differences between all the, because I think I'm going to be doing my son's special needs trust with you, and I'm going to go for the standalone third party supplemental
That's
needs.
it. You
That's a
got it. Oh,
mouthful,
I love it.
man.
You got the lingo.
That's a
That's it.
mouthful, but I'm
A
gonna do
plus. A plus for you.
it.
But,
Dude.
with that aside,
Yeah,
the idea is that, I don't, that's nice that we use those fancy terms, but end of the day, I
yeah,
want to make sure we know what this tool
yeah,
does, how
exactly.
it works, and how it will just make sure my child is safe.
Yeah.
That is it. At the end of the day,
All
we
right.
want them to
Absolutely.
thrive and we want them to be
Absolutely.
protected. That's it. That's all I
That's
want
the
to
key.
know.
Protection and security. That's
Absolutely. That's
not,
it.
yeah, them and their money. And yeah, because that's like what really amazes me about this whole process. And I'm learning as I go, and I've made mistakes. But even with I finally learned about what SSI is, and I made the mistake of volunteering that he had not non-matured bonds.
Okay.
And then they said, "Oh, well, those would be $1,500." So now he got denied just because they said he had 4,100 bucks.
I know.
And 2,000 with this economy, $2,000 is the
It's
maximum.
horrible.
Come on, that's
That
ridiculous.
number has
Yeah,
stayed the same for
yeah,
decades,
I
Drew. Oh my,
know.
I don't even
You
want to
would
get
think
into
that'd be the
it. I
first
go
thing
in,
to change. I'm like,
I go into like this
seriously?
awful
I
rage.
know. It's like chalk on a chalkboard.
It's
2,000.
it's so bad.
No.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. And
It's
then I
just
learned
like,
about the Able account, which I laughed when I learned how it came. So it's a government account, one government area hiding money from a different government area so it doesn't affect the benefits. Uh,
why don't you
what?
just change the rules? Why do you have to create the, I
Just
honestly,
change it
right?
up. You don't have to add another department and account. So now I got to do Able account. And I even learned like you it'd be like all different trusts. Like the Able account would be money that they can use right now for their whatever. And then if they get a job, then put it in a regular trust. And
Yeah,
then if they have special needs, then get a special needs. I'm
yeah,
like, I'm
yeah.
like, sorry, all right, I'll crazy.
It's
Okay.
terrible. No, it's
Yeah.
really bad. And, because I'll chat with families and they'll say, like, oh, I have this one tool. And they say, Chris, is it possible that I might, if I have this one special needs trust, I might need another one? I go, sometimes, depending.
Mm,
I've met families that have all three, whatever things are going on. And it's,
yeah.
and it gets my chest tight because it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's
No.
what we're dealing with. These are
Yeah,
the
it is.
cards that we have.
Yes.
So my job has always been to keep the cards in order and making sure the
Yes.
cards make
Yep.
sense and that you always have the winning hand. I mean, that is
Absolutely.
really
Yep.
it.
Love
That's the
it.
name of
And
the game. That's
so
it.
true. So, your optimism, I mean, I feel it through the screen. So personally, professionally, tell us about the Matus Law Group and what, so I know like some law firms don't have certain things. What services does your firm provide?
Absolutely. So I always like to say we're a boutique law firm,
Okay.
and we are, we're 15, and it just happens to be we're all women. It wasn't really intentional
Yeah.
for attorneys, including myself, and we have a very strong support staff that is in combination of paralegals, legal assistants, and our admin assistants. And really, we focus on two things: wills and trusts as well as real estate. That is
Okay.
it. We don't do personal injury, we don't do bankruptcy, we don't do family law. Do we have knowledge about those things? We do because of our backgrounds. A lot of us were blessed to be working with other firms that have had this information, but not proficient enough that that's all we want to do. We're not going to sit and do a divorce for someone,
Right.
but at least we will be able to highlight and make sure that if you're having a divorce, please be careful of this and
Mhm.
how it intertwines with what we do with wills and trusts.
Right.
And at the big time, and in the big picture, Drew, I've always said our purpose is to protect families, especially those with a special needs loved one, so
Mm.
that they could have a lifestyle that they deserve. That is
Yes.
it. That is my mantra. That is what I
Absolutely.
want them to do. And
Absolutely.
yes, we help all different types of families, typical, atypical, and, when I say special needs, that is really my favorite niche. The other attorney in my firm, her name is Chris Gursky. She loves to help those who are older protect their assets from nursing home care. That is her
Mm.
forte. She
Okay.
is, I'm telling you, hands down, probably the best in the state. I'm
Okay.
very proud of her.
Yeah.
And our other attorneys are just as good, and they're very well versed in that. And I
Yeah.
think what makes us different is that human side of us.
Yeah. I love
We
that.
all know,
Yeah.
that everyone's busy. There's no
Yeah.
judgment, and
Yeah.
all we want to do is help. That's
Yeah.
it. We try to be as friendly, as close and personal as possible any way we can.
I love that. I love that. Anything else that you want to tell the audience about
No,
either
I
the
mean, if
personal,
anything, I
professional?
always share with everyone that whoever you decide to work with, whenever it doesn't even have to be a lawyer, but any professional,
Mhm.
ask questions, but also go with your gut. You
Right.
want to feel comfortable, and at the end of the day, you want to make sure you understand what you have and that you
Mhm.
understood what all your options are. I remember when I had bought a car, this was years ago,
Mhm.
bought the car and I was happy. And then I saw a friend of mine bought the same car, but she had like a sunroof. And I said to my husband, I go, hey, she has a sunroof. He goes, yeah. I go, I didn't know we can get a sunroof on this. He goes, well, you didn't ask. And he goes, and you don't like sunroofs anyway. And I just said, but it would have been nice to know that
To
that was an
know.
option.
Yeah.
And that's why I always think about when I help my families. I always say, this may not apply to you. And I don't want to confuse you, but just letting you know this is another tool that's out there.
Right.
And sometimes pleasantly surprised, oh, I didn't know that.
Mm.
I think that'll be
Yeah.
helpful. Or
Yeah.
saying, yeah, not for me, Chris. All good, all good.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think, you want to feel satisfied that I got the best plan for me. And
Absolutely.
that's it. That's
Well,
it.
it's interesting. You were about to mention before you mentioned three types of trusts, and I'd like to go there if you're okay with that.
Please.
Can
Yes, let's do
you
it.
can you spell out for the audience, let's say they have no clue, like
Yes.
like me, what are the three types of trusts?
Absolutely. Well, let's just to back it up a little bit. So
Okay.
when people hear the word trust, sometimes it does get overwhelming. It's just a tool. It is just a tool, and it's a tool that I can create, my firm creates, where it can help you do something. So there's so many different types of trust. But when I create a tool that is helping a family with a special needs loved one, there's three ways we can help. So there is a special needs trust that can help a loved one if they have their own money. Say we have a loved one who was in a devastating car accident, and as a result, they have a large settlement. But if they were to receive that settlement, even if it's $100,000, the problem is, Drew, that would knock them off the benefits that we were mentioning before.
Mm.
SSI, Medicaid, they are called means tested, meaning that you can only have a certain amount of assets and income in your name. If you have more than that, in here, more than 2,000, terrible. I'm just pausing for effect. But
Mm.
you will not get SSI. You will not get Medicaid. And what do you have to do? You're going to have to live off whatever the settlement is. And, between you and me, that if it's 100,000, no matter what the money is, it will
Mhm.
go fast.
Yes, absolutely.
So there is a tool that our firm can create, first party, and we put the funds in that trust. Now that money can be used for our loved one with special needs, but it will not be countable against them, meaning it will not knock them off their benefits. So
Mhm.
that's the exception. It's kind of a box to protect that money. So that's first party because it was our loved one's money. It was his settlement, his car accident, his pain
Mhm.
and suffering. Now,
Mm. Mhm.
say that we want to give money, like I say, with my two daughters and my daughter, I want to give her money
Yeah.
when I die. The
Yeah.
problem is if she inherits money from me, she will lose her benefits because
Okay.
it'll be more than 2,000. So I will
Mhm.
create a special needs trust, but
Mhm.
it's called third party, Drew,
Okay. Got it.
because it's coming from another person,
Mhm.
a third party,
Got it. Okay.
me. So
Yeah.
you always have
Got it.
to ask the question, where's the money coming from?
All right.
So if the money is theirs, it's first party. If the
Mhm.
money's coming from other people,
Okay.
it's third
Third
party.
one. Okay.
And so that's the big difference. And one of the things we have to be aware of is say our loved one passes away and there's money left in the trust. If it's first party, the balance typically goes back to the state. If
Oh.
it's third party,
Mhm.
that can be designated by anyone else you want. So in my situation, if sadly something happens to my daughter and there's money left in the trust, I want the balance to go to her sister, or
Right.
you can have it go to a charity or
Got it.
to anybody you want.
Okay.
No
Okay.
problem. You
Mhm.
have the control.
Right.
Not to get too much in the weeds,
No,
but
no,
I've
no. This is
always shared
helpful.
with
Yeah.
clients,
Yeah.
if you think your child might need this type of trust, it's so important to create it now while you're alive,
Yeah.
because then it's third party and the
Yeah.
state is not involved.
Right. Absolutely.
Many times we have clients come to us and say, Chris, my mom and dad died. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And they left money to us. I was like, oh, that's good. But if my brother
Hmm.
takes his share, he's going to lose his benefits. I'm like, oh, well, was there a trust? No. I can create the trust now, Drew, after mom and dad died, but It's first party. Why? The money is
Oh,
already
because the
his.
money is
They're
now with
dead.
them.
They're his
Okay.
already. It's his inheritance. It's his.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
now it's first party and now the state's involved. So I've always told clients, if you think that you might create it now, just create it out because then as long as it was created while you're alive,
Yeah.
third party state's not involved.
Okay. Good.
That's a big deal. Now, the third type of trust is called a pooled trust.
Okay.
Pooled trust is where a nonprofit typically is the one controlling it. They'll have one big account. And in it, so that's the pool, right? They put all the money in there. They can have 10 families. And then each family has a little sub account, and the nonprofit will manage it. This is typically when you may not have too many funds. You don't have a person that you want to be the trustee to control it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah. Yeah.
a person to control it.
Right.
So you would have a nonprofit do it. There are nuances because sometimes if there's money left, the nonprofit takes a portion, the state takes a portion, and then perhaps another person. Every nonprofit is different, so you want to look into it,
Right.
some better than others.
Yeah.
But those are the three different kinds.
Okay.
That's it.
So that helps. So let's look at the third party. Then why am I saying I would want a third party standalone
Loan. Yes,
supplemental special needs trust?
absolutely.
What am I saying in layperson?
Yes. So, one of the big terms that you want to look at, you're focusing on the word supplemental.
Yeah.
These trusts, these tools are created to hold money, but the money is not to replace to replace your benefits, right? So
Okay.
if I have just using easy numbers, if I have
Yeah.
$100,000 in this trust, it doesn't mean I'm using $100,000 to pay for all my medical and everything.
Right.
Because if that's true, if that is to supplant, then we don't need the benefits. But we're saying it's to be used in supplement to
Got it.
enhance.
Okay.
So
Good.
that's the word supplement, right?
Okay. Got it.
Typically, you also use that word because it's third party, because we're
Mhm.
saying, hey, I don't have, this is money from someone else. I
Okay. Good.
have benefits, but this is from someone else and it's helping me along. And the reason why you want it to be third party is because you can control the balance.
Okay.
You can control if
Hmm.
something sadly happens to our loved one, who gets the
Hmm.
balance. But standalone means it's a separate form,
Okay.
Drew,
All right.
and it could be effective today. Meaning, if you have other loved ones who say, like, hey, can I leave money to your son in my will already? You can do it today. It already has, it'll be set up. Can I assess a trustee and can
uh
I open up a bank account today and maybe I want to put money in today? You can. The
Okay.
other third party is called a testamentary, and
Okay.
that means it's built into your will, and those are good too, but they don't
Okay.
really exist yet. And you can't go to a bank with it, and no one can really leave
Okay.
anything to it yet
So
because
that's
it doesn't
why.
exist.
Okay.
So we've recommended those when people are maybe not sure what they have or they're not sure if they really want to go through, but at least they have something built in just in case
Right.
to make it third party.
Okay.
Um,
So then, if I have a will, and this could be hypothetical or it could be true, I'm not going to tell you. Let's say I have a will, and in the will, instead of the beneficiaries being the names of the individual three kids, the beneficiaries now are a, a trust. That's my name, the Drew Trust, the Drew Trust, the Drew Trust, all three kids.
yeah.
Now I have that. Then I start a special needs trust standalone supplemental for my other kid. Do I need to change anything in the will to make sure it doesn't go into the Drew trust that's in the will, and
Yes.
instead for him it goes to this other one?
Right? I always picture the trust, standalone trust is like your glass
Oh, yeah.
and your will is the pitcher. So
Okay.
whatever we put in the pitcher, we're pouring into something. So
Okay.
if I'm going to pour it into a special needs trust, I better put in the directions in the will where I'm pouring it
Okay.
to. So you
Okay.
do have to update it to be clear, right?
All
Because if you
right.
just say it's
Good.
to three
Good to
people, we
know.
want to know, well, I didn't know there was a
All right.
container.
Well, here's another one then. So let's say the will is with one law firm and the special needs trust is with a different law firm. Then what?
So, I mean, it's possible to do that. So
Okay.
it's very important for the two law firms to talk because you want to make sure everything works smoothly.
Yeah.
But typically, it is probably the best way to work with one firm so
Mhm.
that everything is uniform, everything is
Right.
working the same.
Right.
It's like
Right.
being in a boat, but I'm using a metal oar here, the wooden oar is
Mhm.
up the front, and then I'm just using a piece of plywood in the back. I don't know how fast I can go. I don't know how smooth the ride's going to be. I'll get there. But I think for a smoother ride, you want it all uniform. You
All
want one
uniform.
boat, all the
Yeah.
same oars
Yeah.
moving the right direction.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, I thank you, and the audience certainly has captured the essence of Christine Matus, and they're going to want to get in touch with you. So, gang, go to matuslaw.com, Matus law.com. You'll find everything you need there to get in touch with Christine and learn about her law firm. I have two questions for you. You ready? All right.
Okay.
All right. You're sitting in your happy place and you're sitting down with 7 to 10-year-old Christine and you want to give her advice about life. What are you going to tell her?
Not to take things too seriously,
Okay.
that th- you should focus on the positive.
Hmm.
And yes, I know it's cliche, but everything always works out at the end.
Yeah.
Everything always works. All the worry. I was a worry wart when I was younger.
No,
I still
boy.
can
Oh,
be.
boy. Yep. That's a beautiful advice. Okay. Different hat. Now you're young Christine, the young entrepreneur, young businesswoman. You want to give advice to her, business advice. What are you going to tell her?
I would tell her that you're doing the best you can and focus on what you like doing. You don't have to do everything. And I would say that young Christine probably was smart in saying focus on the 80-20 rule,
Okay.
and that 80% of the good things you do is created by only 20% of the focus that you want to do. So
Okay.
80-20 rule is a huge, huge benefit to know.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I thank you for that wonderful advice to young Christine. I hope she takes it. And I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for coming into my life, for being the human being you are, and for doing all the wonderful things you're doing for not only your clients, also for your daughters and your husband and
Oh,
and everybody else you touch.
that's
Thank you.
so kind. Thank you, Drew. And thank you for doing this. I mean, you are such a motivation, inspiration to so many people who listen. I mean, I listen to your podcast and uh, I don't know where you get your drive and your energy, um, but you do bring on a lot of people who are just an inspiration. And I thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Christine. Everybody out there, please, I want you to take care of yourselves. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.